All right, guys, welcome to the Revenue Accelerator with your host, Kat Stancic. And I am here with a very special guest who is actually going to introduce herself just like every other person that has been on this podcast because you guys do it better than me. All right, Megan, go ahead and cue it up for us. What do you do and why do you do it?
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to be here, Kat. We're going to have a super juicy conversation about all things business.
Woo-hoo.
I have been in the coaching industry for a little over 8 years now. I actually left the high school public education teaching profession when we had our daughter a little over 9 years ago, got a coaching certification, and it's been an interesting journey for the last 8 years. And now I really focus on working with female coaches who are transitioning from predominantly working with clients in a one-on-one type of scenario, and I help them create and launch and fill group coaching programs and masterminds so that they can start that transition into a more leveraged type of business model.
Yeah.
It saves them more time, they have more freedom, and a lot of people want to do more teaching in their business as well. Why I do it? That's a really interesting question. I freaking love helping people live a more freedom-based lifestyle and have more choice over the way that they're spending their time, who they're spending their time with. And I love helping people spread their mission and their vision out into the world. So that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, baby. Well, moms, right? Like we don't have a lot of time to do a lot of stuff. And so I love how you work with people to, focus them on how to make better use of their time, essentially, because I think that's one of the primary motivators from going from one-on-one to group is, we want to have more impact in the world. And so how do you do that? But by launching a group program so that you, one, help more people who maybe can't afford that one-on-one price point, but two, help them. I mean, I love a lot of things. Let me ask you this question. What do you think are the pros and cons from one-on-one versus group?
I think groups are better, actually. I have to be super honest. I mean, my background is in teaching. I've been teaching, I'm 37, so just to give a little context of how many years, I've been teaching people and groups since I was 22. So that's 15 years?
Right.
And even prior to that, I was coaching tennis, I was a swim coach. So I was always working with groups of people. And, when I look at clients who I've worked with that were one-on-one versus clients who I've worked with and they've been in a group or a mastermind with me, the clients who are in a group or a mastermind far exceed the results that anyone who I ever worked with in a one-on-one scenario saw. And, I am also always in group coaching programs and or masterminds. And I don't even know, when I think back on my 8 years, I don't think I have ever had a one-on-one coach that just coached me one-on-one sessions. I was always in a group because part of it's the community that I find really inspires people. And when you see what other people are doing, you realize holy cow, we're no different. If they can do that and they can rise above their adversity and they can think bigger than they're thinking and really go for it and share their message and share their voice, what am I doing over here? I could do the same thing. And so when you see other people doing it, it really invites you to elevate yourself, elevate the kind of conversation you're having with yourself, elevate the thoughts you're thinking, elevate the action you're taking, elevate the people you're spending your time with, who are you surrounding yourself with. And I just think that is what can pull people forward so much more quickly. I find that when people work one-on-one, at least this was my experience, it was every single week they'd be showing up telling the same story over and over again. And I think it just gets so easy when it's you and your coach to come and sing the same song and dance. But nobody wants to show up to a group coaching call with the same excuses and the same story, asking the same questions, talking about the same thing. It just brings
We've all met those people that do that, and then that's a clear flag of you're not going to succeed in this because you're wanting to stay stuck.
Yeah.
But I love how you talked about, there is this, a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. So it doesn't matter what boat size you have or what, if you've got a barge or you've got a yacht, the same rising tide is going to lift everybody. And that rising tide is really that community, like you talked about, that gets built. So what do you think are some of the things that are really important to have as part of your group program to build that community, right? Because you can't just be like, hey, I'm a one-on-one coach and now I'm just a group coach. There's things that need to be in place to support that vary from that doing that transition.
Yeah, well, I mean, from a marketing perspective and a leadership perspective, you have to build your own community at the free level first. And I personally chose to do that inside of a Facebook group. So I have a free Facebook group, and I actually teach my clients to do something very, very similar. Almost every single one of my clients has their own Facebook group, and they're building a community there, and it's where you can become the dominant leader. And it's a place where it's basically like an organic funnel where you are generating leads outside of your Facebook group, whether that's from the Facebook platform or any other social media platform or anywhere else that you're marketing yourself. And you're creating content that gets the attention of your ideal clients. And then you're hosting, I call them virtual live events inside of your Facebook group. Like, what's something that you could provide for free value that your ideal client would want access to? And you do that inside of your Facebook group. And it doesn't have to be a large Facebook group. I mean, my Facebook group is only 1,400 people, and we've done extremely well in the last 3 years. So we don't have huge numbers, but it allows you to be the leader. It allows you to create relevant content. It allows you to really engage with those people and be a whole lot more intimate with the right people. So it's all about building an audience and building a community of ideal leads, but inside of something like a Facebook group. So that definitely needs to be in place. Like I said, you don't have to have huge numbers, because a group program, I mean, my first group program, I only had 6 people in it. So it was like a 6-on-1. And I ran quite a few of those. I think I ran 6 of those where I had 4, 6, 8, or 12 people in a group before I really felt like I could lead 40 or 50 people in a group program, because let me tell you, it's a different ball game when you go from like 6 people.
Yeah. Well, I like that, because it's almost a transition, right? Of like, you're looking at people who, and probably because they've bought these larger group programs that they're in, and they're like, oh, well, if I can just get 30, 300, whatever it is at this price point, then I'll be set for the year. And that's kind of like, putting the cart in front of the horse. There's this like process that you kind of can go through. And again, I talk about this with, you've got to have the right business assets, right? So if you've got 100 people on your list, not 100 people are going to buy. And so I love the concept, which is one that I leverage too, of kind of nurturing your people within a smaller group so that they can really rise to the top and say, okay, yes, I'm ready. But there's different ways of doing group programs, right? Like you talked about, there's this smaller, and more intimate, and it's almost this hybrid one-on-one to group coaching program. And then there's the more, less involved group program where you've got a course that you're really kind of leveraging and doing a lot of the footwork for you and showing up still on a weekly basis, likely. So what do you tell people who are like, I want to do a group program, I'm kind of ready to do that, but I don't know what structure to kind of follow?
Yeah, I mean, I really like to talk to that person and really figure out what's going to work best for them. I mean, a lot of people who are doing one-on-one, what I have found is they don't realize that they actually have a system or a process that they are moving every single one of their clients through. They certainly don't have a name given to it. And so you really have to kind of pull that out of people. Yeah. So, it really just depends. If someone had, some people, they've already created modules, and they are actually giving their one-on-one clients modules and homework to do. And that really is the makings of your group coaching program right there. So it kind of just depends on what kind of assets do they already have in place with their one-on-one client. And then some people, like you said, and you bring up a really good point, because most of us in our careers have joined one of these massive group programs that had hundreds of people in it. And all of us are so privy to people having like 6- and 7-figure launches. And so everybody wants to have the same kind of launch, but not everybody is ready to have 50 or 100 people in their group program. You've got to have certain systems in place, and you've got to have certain foundations in place. I mean, I've got 45 people in a group coaching program right now, and I have 3 people on my team that help me run the group program.
There we go. That's the behind the scenes here.
I could not imagine, if I just look back on the last 6 weeks, I couldn't imagine doing what I'm doing totally by myself.
Right.
Not just to run the program, but you also have to keep up with your marketing and sales in your own business, which can totally go by the wayside. So it kind of just depends on, to whatever degree they've got assets, to whatever degree they know what their signature system is, to whatever degree they have support in place. And some people really just need to start with like a group of 4, but charge more money for that. I mean, my first group program was $5,000 and I had 6 people. That's a $30,000 launch.
Right.
And then I can just keep running that over and over and over again. So you don't always have to have big numbers at lower price points and like a high volume of people. I also look at, well, how many people do you actually have access to sell to? You know, you kind of have to bring people down to earth when they want to have a 30-person launch and have 30 people in their program. But then you look at their list size and they have 500 people on their list. Like, not happen, sister.
Or a disengaged list. Like, you've got to look at all those business assets of, maybe you have a banging, Facebook group, so your list doesn't matter. Maybe you have no Facebook group, you have no list, you have, and then that 4-on-1, that 6-on-1 makes way more sense.
Yes.
You've really got to look at, it's not about, yes, you want your lifestyle to be supported by your business, but you've got to understand the business assets that you have to make sure that you have the right idea, because we can all plan our $1 million businesses. We only need to sell 10 of the, 100 of these $10,000 things and we're all good. But planning and implementation is something very different.
I mean, also the last thing you want to do, and this has like been such a learning lesson for me, the more people you have in your programs, the more people and problems you have to deal with and you have to manage and you have to overcome. Like, the last thing you want to do is not be ready. And then you've got an influx of 20 or 30 people and then they're all pissed off because you don't have the right onboarding process.
Exactly. You didn't open a module. So you said that there would be a link and the link doesn't work. There'd be a document. It's not there. Like, all those things matter and they matter when it comes, like, they matter even more because you can excuse it with 1 or 2 people or whatever it is. But if you're not organized and you don't have your structure and your systems in place, things get noticed. And then that reputation.
Very quickly, they get noticed by people.
Right. And they're more than happy to harp on that than on the amazing content that sometimes is there, because we're human and we work with humans and that's just what it is. So you have to understand how humans are going to react. And some rise above and some don't, but you have to have things organized and in place. And if you don't, then there's a process of learning growth, that happens throughout the whole thing. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You have a really unique process because you use organic leads and paid advertising, to grow and to do your strategies. Can you give us because I talk about, organic leads. I don't really touch on the paid side of things at all because I haven't used it yet. I haven't done it effectively. Like, is that something that you teach your people to do as part of their growing their groups and launching?
I actually do not. Okay. So I don't, because typically the client that I'm bringing on, that's especially the one joining like my 6-month group coaching program, they're not at a place where they're even ready to be thinking about deploying Facebook ads. I have a mastermind program with people who are at 6 figures and they're not really even touching Facebook ads yet. Some of them are like, starting to dip their toe in the water.
Are you guys listening to this? Everyone who's listening to this, do you see at what level she's telling people to start advertising? It's not even at the 6-figure level. I just wanted to kind of highlight that because most people will go right for the Facebook ads because they think that's the thing that's going to solve their problems.
Absolutely not. I mean, no, you do not start there. The only thing Facebook ads does is amplify what you've already figured out works really well for you in terms of what you're selling. So if you don't have a killer offer that you have already been able to sell like hotcakes. I mean, sell like hotcakes. And you've done like a couple of iterations of it. Only then should you even be considering driving Facebook ad traffic because A, you need the money to keep up with that. And B, you need to know that what you're actually funneling those people to, you've already sold like hotcakes. So I actually do not teach any paid advertising.
Perfect.
I only teach organic strategies because that's what I've primarily done. I'd say,
you even had your account. You got it got disabled, but you still closed and launched a 45-person group having had that. And it's not even the thing that you rely on. It's more of a, hey, I know this works because the magic is actually in your process and in your Facebook group.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when I use ads, which I've done super sparingly, just to kind of give it some numbers. When I do a launch for a program, which I do all like super low tech, very high touch, I launch live right inside of my Facebook group. I only drive about maybe 150 people who sign up for that free workshop come from Facebook ads.
Yeah.
All the rest is organic.
Right. So walk us through, like, as much as you're willing to divulge, kind of your process with your launching. Like, are you, because I know that's part of what you teach your clients to do and leverage of you leveraging, like, how do you leverage the power of a Facebook group to be able to fill your group programs?
Yeah. So I put probably 80% of my marketing efforts are right inside my Facebook group. So I'm in there every single day. I'm building relationships with people every single day. I'm asking them questions. I'm getting to know them. It's also a great way to move into like the private messenger feature of Facebook with people.
Right.
I mean, you've got a Facebook group that you are engaged in and you're posting relevant content and you've got the right people. You are literally sitting on a gold mine, and you don't have to have 10,000 people in that group. So about every other month, I do a 9-day series, and it's basically a virtual live event. And I teach the main strategy that I am teaching my clients to launch and build their group programs. I'm actually demonstrating that strategy and teaching it live over a 9-day period of time.
Use the process to sell the process.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically giving free content for a couple of days in a row. And then I transition about halfway through those 9 days into inviting them into my program and my offer. And then I continue to go live for 4 or 5 more days. That card is open, and I do some bonus content. I bring on some clients who've had challenges and successes with the methodology that I teach. I interview them. I do a Q&A. So it's kind of like taking the old school traditional launches that are all automated, and I'm following the same like principles, and I just am doing it in a way that requires almost zero technology. So I'm not teaching like all these big pre-recorded videos and all these emails that you have to write. Like it's literally be a leader inside of a community, bring in ideal clients, teach the pants off them, and then invite them into your program. And you go live 9 days in a row, your card is open for like 5 days, and you fill your programs that way.
And that's just like, we're not worthy.
Well, I mean, it's great because if you look at it, like I have some clients who will do one like every other month. I have some friends and colleagues who've watched me do it and now they're deploying it. They do it every single month. But it's like, if you could make 30,000, I mean, and you don't have to, I don't have 40 people join every single time I do it. It's like one time there were 22 people, one time 7 people joined, one time 8 people joined. But look at the power of once you figure out a system that works, like do it every single month, and it's like a 40K month every single month.
Yep. And look at that, over the year and being like, cool. And then the thing is that you can start projecting in terms of, all right, cool. If you didn't hit your goals the right way, then you look at kind of the process and what you can tweak and all this other stuff. But if you don't have a real understanding of the process of these are the beats that I hit, this is the process that I go through, this is how I nurture people, then you're just kind of shooting in the dark all the time. And it gives you that feeling of not being in control of your business. And so what's your best advice for people who are really trying to, they're hitting numbers, right? They're maybe at 6 figures, maybe under 6 figures, but it's kind of this, a hope and a prayer kind of process of it's the constant going. What do you tell them in terms of creating that consistency in their business?
I mean, number one, I think the golden ticket is simplify. I have always sung the tune of simplify. It's kind of been like my thing. I only have 2 offers. I've only ever had 2 offers. Since I rebooted my business 3 years ago, I've only ever had 2 offers. And oftentimes when people come to me, because of the way they have their business model set up, they're constantly having to create new offers. So simplify. I mean, your fastest path to cash is simplifying and have very few offers, but also create offers that you could be selling all the time. Because if you don't have a way for people to join, like I've got 2 programs, one is 6 months, one is 12 months. So if I only ran those programs like one time each a year, I basically am giving myself an opportunity to only generate new clients and new money 2 times a year, or else I'm constantly creating the new program that people have to join. And I see that happening with probably 95% of coaches who I work with. They're having to create new offers all the time.
Yeah.
And then they don't have a systematic way that they have figured out they can duplicate to fill their program. So it's simplify your business model. It's have a way for people to say yes to your programs every month of the year, ideally. And then have a way that you can fill those programs, but it's duplicatable. I mean, just like my kind of 9-day launch strategy, I just did a launch at the end of January. It ended on like February 5th. I wasn't planning to launch again in my launch calendar until like mid to late April, but my numbers weren't exactly where I wanted them to be. So it was so easy for me to make a decision. Let's just do another launch starting March 9th. The content is already there. I knew exactly how to produce it. The land, like everything is already there.
Yeah.
I literally have to drive traffic to it and just go do it all over again. And maybe, 8 more people join. So it's just so easy to know that you've got something there that you could just decide 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time, like, let's go do another one.
Yeah. Well, and it's because you've taken the time to document, you've taken the time to create a process, you've taken the time to fully bake it, right? Like the first time you did it, probably, I'm just going to go ahead and venture out that it wasn't as smooth as it is right now.
Well, it took me 2.5 years. So I rebooted this coaching business January 2017. My entire strategy has always been build a Facebook group.
Yeah.
And convert people from the Facebook group into my coaching programs. I was always doing that through Facebook Lives and through posts.
Mm-hmm.
I was never doing it in like a 9-day virtual live event series.
Right.
So it took me 2.5 years. I didn't figure out I could do this series the way I'm doing it to fill a group and have a larger number of people all join at one time until 2.5 years in. Now, the first time I actually did the 9-day launch, 22 people said yes. So, but it took 2.5 years to get to a place where I've got a duplicatable system that I can rinse and repeat, and it's all scalable.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, it's like a lot of people are, especially when it comes to people who are creating courses over and over again, they're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, hey, what worked, what didn't work? What's the process? And we all have this recipe for success as to based off, because maybe there's someone out there who's like, oh my God, I can't do 9 days of Facebook Lives. And it's not that that's the process that you have to follow. It's how do you show up and doing it consistently. So I know there's a lot of people that are probably thinking, great, but yeah, you're lucky you have an engaged Facebook group and you're posting stuff. So, but I don't have that. What are your recommendations for people who maybe have people in their Facebook group and it's not as engaged as they would like it to be?
Okay, so number one, and I say this super lovingly, it's a mindset issue. It's a really big mindset issue. And what you're saying, I hear way more often than I'd like to hear from people. Mm-hmm. So number one, it's a mindset thing. Number two, it's not like I teach this, but I will say this to my clients and even to my free community. And it's always such a big aha for people. You are the leader of your community. It is the leader's job to make sure that you're creating content that is going to actually engage your people and make your audience want to engage with you. It is actually not the job of your Facebook group members to engage themselves. As the leader, it is your job to engage them with your content. So if people aren't engaging, I see people all the time that they're frustrated, they get pissed off at their own community.
Yeah.
Like, well, what are you doing? And how are you operating and leading that group of people so that they are acting? You have to teach your community how to engage. We can't just expect people to come flood our Facebook group and know how to engage. It's all about training. And I think that's a thing that a lot of business owners forget, is that we have to train our audiences to do every single thing we want them to do. You have to train your audience to engage with you. You have to train them to comment. You have to train them to click. You have to train them to say yes. You have to train them to buy. And if you're not willing to figure out how to do that, then you're going to have a Facebook group that's not engaged. Like, sorry, not sorry. But it's kind of all on you to figure out how to better engage your people.
Right. So I know that you have, mastered the level of engagement. So what would be your number one tip for, kind of how to start really leading your group or, starting to really kind of set the pace almost, right, of group engagement?
So one of the things to remember is that anybody who joins any of our communities, even our email list, they're the most excited about us and about what we have to offer in the first 2 weeks. So knowing that if you're going to be inviting people into your Facebook group, those people are like telling you that there's something that you're putting out there to the world that they want to be a part of.
Right.
So you want to, again, like you want to have a rhythm of the kind of content you're posting on a daily basis, the time of day that you're showing up. And just to kind of give you a little bit of an example, when I first started my Facebook group, I did theme every single one of my days. So Monday through Friday, I had a certain theme of the day. So whether it's like Monday motivation, Tuesday tech tip, I don't know, like Wild Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is, Friday celebration day.
I'm sorry, I feel like we're starting to get into like Thirsty Thursday and Freaky Friday.
Well,
I was flashbacks to college days, right?
Right? Like you could theme it out. And some people, they really need that structure of theming out the days. After a while, I got tired of the themes and I got kind of bored with it. So I like ditched the themes and now it's like super easy for me to run my Facebook group. But you could start out by theming it. The other thing I would highly recommend.
Well, and you don't have to share the theme, right? You could just show up. Like that's the other thing too, is you could have your own internal themes and be like, look, on Mondays, I am going to post a story from the weekend. And on Tuesday, I'm going to do this. And so that people aren't like, seeing the, hey, today is, pick my brain Tuesday kind of thing. You would just kind of create an event for that.
Yeah. And I would also schedule out same day, same time, every single week in the Facebook group, a Facebook Live. So do a Facebook Live, do it consistently, super high value. If you are like just kind of revving up your Facebook group, I would do more than one Facebook Live a week. When I restarted my business in January of 2017, the only thing I did every single day for months to build my business was focus on my Facebook group. I did 2 to 3 Facebook Lives a week. They were 30 to 45 minutes long. I was making up to 5 posts a day in my Facebook group. And a lot of those posts were asking questions so that I could learn about my audience. They were literally spoon feeding me exactly what they wanted. And I would ask really specific questions like, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you want to see happen in your business in the next 30 days?
Right.
And I remembered that particular post. 80%, I think like 50 to 60 people responded to that. 80% of them said, I want 2 to 3 clients in the next 30 days. Well, guess what I did? I turned around and I actually created a 30-day course. And it was designed to help people generate 2 to 3 clients in the next 30 days.
Megan, you actually sold people what they wanted?
Oh my gosh.
They asked for something and you said, okay, I'm going to deliver.
Yeah. And I just asked them what they wanted. So, it's find out what people want from you, but find out what they want urgently. I think so many people are like, I'm going to help you build your dream life. I'm going to help you be more confident. I'm going to help you find the love of your life. And it's like, people want speed. Yeah. People are thinking like, what the heck do I want today at 7 p.m.?
It's too far away for them to think that though they want it, it's too far away for it to become a reality.
Yeah, they can't wrap their mind around that. How does that look? What's that going to be? Can I really do it? So, I mean, you're sitting on a gold mine inside your Facebook group. And if you want people, you ask the question like, what if somebody has a Facebook group and it's dead? Know this about people. People love talking about themselves. So create content and questions that gives people a platform to talk highly of themselves. It can be as simple as this. Hey, everybody, let's see where our community is from. Post a picture of your town. Post a picture of your view right now. You will get 100 comments because everybody wants to show everybody where they live. Yep. I mean, it's like, that's a way to like start bolstering your engagement. Ask them questions that give them an opportunity to talk about themselves.
Yep. Because a lot of people are out there lonely. Honestly, entrepreneurship can be a very lonely place, and they just are, they're wanting that place where they can belong. And so if you're not creating that place where you're putting your cozy blankets out and saying, hey, let's all come snuggle, which is a weird analogy, but right, like if you're not creating that warm, inviting space, why would someone come in and say, hey, I'm going to chill here? Right.
Exactly.
I love this. So Megan, any last tips on people, wanting to either, continue to grow their engagement in their Facebook groups or to transition from one-on-one to group coaching that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is niche yourself way more than you think you need to be niched. I mean, we can't say I'm a health coach and I help everybody lose weight. We can't say, I'm a relationship coach and I help everybody find love. I'm a business coach and I help you grow your business. Because you don't actually know how to create the most potent, prolific content that's going to literally become a magnet for a certain individual. And I think a lot of people believe that's so counterintuitive because they're so afraid that, oh my gosh, if I just stay in this one little lane, it's going to like eliminate 90% of the people whose eyeballs are on me right now. But it's like those 90% of people are not buying from you anyway.
Right.
So the key is the better you can niche yourself and stay in your lane and go narrow and deep, you will fight to fill a group program if you are way too broad and way too vague. You've got to be in your lane and go narrow and deep with people so that you actually know how to be showing up and what kind of content to show up with, what kind of promise you're making people. Because remember, everybody's thinking about themselves. Nobody's thinking about you and your offer. They're all thinking about what's in it for me. And do you understand what my problem is at 3 o'clock every day in the afternoon? Do you understand what's going through my head when I'm trying to fall asleep at night? Do you understand what I want like urgently next week? And if you can't speak that language of like basically a day in the life of your ideal client, if you can't like describe a day in the life of your ideal client and what they're thinking, then you're not narrow enough. You've got to get narrow.
Yeah, I have that conversation. I talk about, there's 3 conversations happening. 1 that they're talking with strangers about, 2 that they're talking to their friends about. And the third one is the conversations that they're having in their head. And you've got to tap into that conversation in the head in order for people to go, oh my God, how did you know that about me? Here's my credit card.
Oh yeah. Like that's basically marketing in a nutshell. You are marketing to someone's mind.
Yep. Exactly. Megan, you have dropped some serious value bombs. Guys, make sure you check the show notes in order to see what those nuggets are. But how can people get in touch with you and learn more about you and probably join your Facebook group to see how a master does it?
That's the best place for people to go. So the name of my Facebook group is Structured Freedom for Coaches Growing 6-Figure Businesses. We're in there every single day. There are Facebook Live trainings in there all the time. And we do our Launching Made Easy 9-day workshop right inside that Facebook group quite a few times a year. So come check it out.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Megan, for joining us. And guys, make sure you go check that out.
Thanks for having me.